Hey guys, welcome to another video. And in this video, I wanted to talk about the biggest problem with being a people pleaser. I know that so many of us struggle with this, and this is something that I've struggled with as well in the past is constantly feeling like we have to say yes to people and agree to people or agree with people to please them and to avoid conflict. But what we don't realize is the more that we do this, the more, frustrated we end up getting because we start to feel like we say yes to so many people that oftentimes we're saying no to ourselves. Like, for example, if your friends want to go hang out or go out or whatever, and you feel like if you say yes to them, but then, like, low key, you just wanted to hang out at the house and just relax, now you feel like you just told yourself no just to tell people yes and then to go do something that you didn't really want to do to begin with. And the problem with this is we end up starting to forget just who we are as people. And we get so used to seeing ourselves from the perspectives of other people that we forget what we look like at that point. We forget the things that we like to do. We forget the things that we like to eat and see and all of these things because we're so used to just going with the flow to avoid having conflict. But what we don't realize is oftentimes by telling people no, we're really not creating any conflict because oftentimes if your friends are super understanding, if you tell them that you've had a long day and you just want to hang out at home, no one is going to, flip out. It's not going to be that big of a deal. But for whatever reason, it's like in our minds, we tend to think, oh, well, if we say no, then it's going to turn into this really big thing. And that was something that I had to realize was I had to give myself permission to say no to doing things that I didn't want to do. And in the process, I started to get more comfortable in my skin. I started to understand what it was that I needed. If I needed rest on certain days, I could understand that. And the main reason that most of us don't ever get there is because we don't even realize that we're doing it. Because for me, for the longest time, I didn't realize that I was doing this until it was one of my friends that told me that he noticed that about me. That I was super agreeable and I was super likable, but I was almost too agreeable because he told me that there were times where he noticed that I didn't necessarily agree with something, but I would either go along with the flow or I would try to phrase my words in a way to agree, even though I didn't, if that makes sense. And so, yeah, it was through a lot of these things that I was able to learn more about myself. And I think for anybody who's struggling with being a people pleaser, I would tell you guys to, first of all, you need to put yourself first. And you need to understand that at the end of the day, if you don't want to do something, you shouldn't have to do something just because other people are doing it. And in the process of you being a people pleaser, you're going to end up frustrating yourself in the long run. You're going to end up growing more distant from yourself. And the thing is, you might think that you're agreeing with people to avoid conflict or to avoid anything um, confrontational or weird, to avoid weird vibes. But what you end up doing is you just creating more like strife and turmoil just within yourself. So it's almost like one of those things where you're hurting yourself for the sake of other people, and that's something that you should never do. And I think oftentimes this can come from when we grow up. Sometimes, when you have strict parents, you're so used to just agreeing with everything and going with the flow that you forget that when it comes to friends or when it comes to your peers or your colleagues, that you have a voice, that you don't have to be, your friend's like subordinate, if that makes sense. You don't have to be your friend, like, isn't your boss per se, like the way that your parents might be your boss or might have been your boss when you were growing up. And so that was something I really had to kind of deconstruct and break down, because I realized that from having strict parents and everything, I got in this mode of just kind of going with the flow. And it was that in combination with being in school, because being in school teaches you that, okay, someone says something and then you just have to do it. And your opinion on it is irrelevant, your thoughts on it are irrelevant. And because of that, we just apply that to every other aspect of our life. And this is why, like, when I first started working, when I graduated dental school, I didn't take a vacation for my first year pretty much working, because I just I didn't realize that was something I could ask for necessarily. I kind of was just thinking, oh, like, maybe someone will tell me when I can take a vacation. But what I realized in that was, when you're being a people pleaser, you're not advocating for yourself. And what's most important ultimately when you start working, just in daily life in general, is to advocate for yourself, to speak up for yourself. Because ultimately, if you don't speak up for yourself, you can't expect that someone else will. And so I wanted to make this video real quick to talk about how one of the most damaging things of being a people pleaser is the fact that you lose yourself in the process of trying to please others. You lose yourself, and then you end up not being able to truly find or discover who it is that you are when it comes down to it, when it comes down to making decisions for yourself. You don't necessarily know what you even like or don't like, because you see yourself through the lens of other people. And so, for anyone struggling with that right now, I would strongly urge you to, when you're making decisions, to start to ask yourself if it's truly something that you want to do, or if you feel like you're just going along with it because it's what everyone else is doing. And so I hope that this video blesses you guys. I hope that you guys like, comment, subscribe, and share it with someone who needs to see this video. And I'll talk to all of you guys in the next one.